Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of SB Outdoors. So I'm Andy. We're going to do a little bit of a different video today. We're going to do some dehydrating. I'm going to show you how I make my favorite meal, which is a chili mac or a chili macaroni, which is honestly basically just chili with macaroni in it. But anyways, I'm going to walk you through how I make it, how I dehydrate it, and then of course how I package it up. It's super easy to make. Excuse me. This is just a recipe that works for me. There's a million recipes out there. Do what you like best. This is just what works for me. So let's get in the kitchen and I'll show you the ingredients. Alright, so here are the basic ingredients for my chili mac, and I'll go through it. So, got a 1 pound bag of macaroni. Just your basic run-of-the-mill macaroni, nothing crazy. Got a can of organic kidney beans, organic pinto beans. I've got some diced and fire-roasted tomatoes with organic green chilies. That sounded pretty good, so I'll use that as well. And then I've got 1 can of tomato sauce. Got about, I don't know, a teaspoon of black pepper, and of course we'll season to taste, so I may use all this, I may not, I may add more. Same thing with salt, just got about a teaspoon, maybe two teaspoons of salt, may add more. Got 3 tablespoons of chili powder. That seems to be about enough, but again, I'll taste it as we go. I may add more. Got about 5 cloves of garlic. This was fresh garlic that I put through my garlic press. I've got about 3/4 of an onion diced up into small pieces. And then I've got about 2 pounds of ground turkey that I already cooked and drained and then rinsed with hot water to remove any excess fat. And of course, we know when we're dehydrating, the less fat, the better. So to get this started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sweating and browning some onions. I'm going to use a tiny bit of olive oil, and then I'll add garlic. So I'm going to be cooking it all, and I have a nice style Dutch oven here, and I'll get this thing loaded up. So let me get started, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so my onions are starting to get a little translucent here. Again, don't want to burn these, I just want to get them a little translucent and start caramelizing them. So I'm going to add in some garlic next. Again, this is the garlic that, it's about 4 or 5 cloves, and that was put through my garlic press. I'm going to get that added in there. Don't want to get, only going to want to cook the garlic probably for about a few minutes just in here. Don't want to burn the garlic, or else you get a pretty bitter flavor. But okay, we'll check back in a couple minutes when I start adding the wet ingredients. Alright, so let's get our wet ingredients added here, and right now I'm on about a medium heat, and I'm going to take it down to about a low. So I'm going to add my tomato sauce. I'm going to add my diced fire roasted tomatoes with green chilies. Give that a stir. So I drained my pinto and kidney beans. Get those added. Again, the chili is just really simple. You throw everything into a pot and let it cook for a little while. Probably going to add some water to this just for help cook the noodles when I add them in a little bit later. And you could use chicken broth or another type of stock, but just whatever you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Going to add a little bit of pepper. And I'm going to add my chili powder. Get this mixed in. This is really thick right now. This is what I would want it to look like before I put it on the dehydrator as well, once I had the ground turkey and the noodles in it. But I think for the purposes of getting this cooked up, I'm probably going to add a little bit of water in here. So I'll go ahead and add the turkey in there. This is probably going to be a little messy since I'm only doing this with one hand. Just going to get that turkey mixed in there. And yeah, this is going to need just some water. So I'm going to add water in and check back and show you what it looks like when it's all simmering and cooking slowly. Okay, so I've had the chili simmering for about 10 minutes here. It did come up to a boil and I brought it back down to a simmer. So I just tasted it. It tastes good, but one of the things I've learned about dehydrating is that you lose a decent amount of flavor when you dehydrate. So I've also read about that on forums too, and I do experience that. So I'm actually going to add probably another tablespoon and a half of chili powder, just because when I dehydrate this, I want it to be really, really flavorful. This recipe right now that I'm using, it's not spicy at all. I thought that the fire roasted tomatoes with the green chilies would maybe give it a little bit of a kick, but it doesn't. So you know what I'm probably going to do? I'm probably going to add just a little bit of sriracha sauce to it. So let's go ahead and do that. I've done this before on other batches of chili mac that I've made. So just going to put some sriracha in there. That should be plenty. And this is Trader Joe's sriracha. It's not the actual sriracha brand sriracha sauce. It's not as spicy as the sriracha brand one. So what I'm going to do is get this all mixed together. I'm going to let it simmer for a couple hours. Then we'll check back in and we'll get the noodles added. Then once we get the noodles added, we'll get the noodles will cook in here. I actually don't boil the noodles first. I like to just add them into this dry. And then, yeah, once those noodles cook, we'll get it on the dehydrator. Alright everybody, so my chili's been cooking for I think about an hour and a half or so. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add in my macaroni noodles. And again, these are just the dry 1 pound packets. And I did add some water just to help cook the noodles. This is where it gets kind of messy when I'm doing this one-handed, but just gonna slowly fold in these noodles. Once we get these noodles folded in, we'll cover it, cook it for probably another, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes covered. And then uncover it, show you what the end result is. We'll get it on the dehydrator. Last time I made this, it was about 6 pretty large servings. So we'll see if it's still the same. I'm looking at this right now, I'd say it's probably still around the 6 really large servings. So I'm going to get this covered, and we'll see you in about 30 minutes. Alright everybody, here's the final product before it goes on the dehydrator. The macaroni noodles have cooked. It's really nice and thick right now, which will make it a little bit easier to work with on the dehydrator. So get it put on the dehydrator trays and show you what it looks like. Alright, so got it all trayed up on my dehydrator trays. I've got 3 of these trays and they're stacked. That's how a dehydrator works, you stack trays. Came out to about 6 large portions. So each tray I say has 2 portions, so I cut it in half. And again, those are large portions. You could definitely go a little bit smaller. But after a long day on the trail, sometimes you're just craving a large portion of some awesome rehydrated meal. So I will dehydrate this overnight. Time-wise, it's usually a minimum of 8 to 9 hours. Sometimes I'll have to go a little bit longer depending on it. I like to make sure that when I'm done, the final product is brittle. And I'll kind of break it up and make sure that it is truly dehydrated all the way through. I've just got one of these Nesco dehydrators. I think they're like 60 bucks on Amazon. Works really well. I'm going to set this to the highest temperature, which is 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, I'll do this overnight. I'm actually going to make another video for another recipe that I have that I'm going to dehydrate at the same time, so this will probably take a long time to dehydrate. And then once I'm done, I will separate the portions out into freezer bags, quart-sized freezer bags, and I will write the date and what the meal is. And I actually do store them in my freezer. You don't necessarily need to store them in your freezer. I just like it for the extended shelf life. From the research that I've done, storing them in the freezer in just a freezer bag is about 6 months to a year shelf life. We go through them way quicker than that. So 6 months to a year for me is absolutely plenty. I do not have a vacuum sealer. I used to, mine broke, so maybe I'll get another one in the future, but I know if you were to vacuum seal your meals and then store them in the freezer, your shelf life greatly increases. So again, just storing them in the freezer bags for me works fine. Alright, so we're on the trail. Just rehydrated my chili mac, so let's check it out.
How long did that go for?
This was about 15-20 minutes. Yeah, that's good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, look at that.
So good.
Look at how awesome that
Friggin'
looks.
chili mac, man.
I know, the chili mac always...
Those macaroni noodles rehydrate really well.
Yeah. And again, when I rehydrate this, I just cover it just so the water line is slightly above the meal. And that generally does the trick. But yeah, so we're going to get into this. Thanks for watching.